After meeting each other in a run-in with Turbo Granny, spirits, and aliens, Okarun and Isa try to recover and process what just happened. As their relationship blossoms, the two journey as they find some magic parts from down under and meet new friends and enemies along the way. Let's get started. Isa and Okarun were talking while walking to their classrooms. When Isa reached her room and said goodbye, Okarun seemed to become sad. Someone bumped into Okarun, causing him to fall. The person who bumped into him said it hurt and told him to get out his way. A girl told Okarun to move, calling him annoying. Okarun prepared to sit down, and when he sat, he thought that he could handle it. He thought to himself that no matter how cruel people were, he could forgive them because he now had the most wonderful friend. Suddenly, he was hit by a ball. We see that it was thrown by his classmates who were playing, but he still told himself he would forgive them. We move to another classroom, and we see Isa staring intensely. Her friends tried waving in front of her, and one said it wasn't working. She wasn't there mentally. One said that something was happening with Isa, and she wasn't responding to texts. She claimed she lost her phone and didn't come to school yesterday. One friend bet that she was with her scummy ex, while another suggested he might have broken up with her again, so she freaked out and destroyed her phone, to which the other agreed. Isa collapsed on her desk, and one of her friends said she was swooning in agony. Another said she was suffering from memories of a bitter past. They both looked at Isa, who muttered the word blurg. We see Okarun in class, saying he wanted to talk about aliens, while drawing the two ghosts they fought recently. He also mentioned wanting to talk to Isa about ghosts. He added that he was so nervous earlier that he could barely speak. He said Isa was so kind and called himself an idiot. On the other hand, Isa was thinking about wanting to talk to Okarun. She wondered what aliens usually ate, if they used tissues, and if they wore underwear. Okarun felt he needed to make it up to Isa, or she would hate him, while Isa really wanted to talk to Okarun. It was now break time for the students. Someone said they were hungry and invited their companion to go to the cafeteria. We see that both Okarun and Isa were rushing to find each other, but due to the crowd, they missed each other. Isa asked Okarun's classmates about him, and one asked for his real name. Isa refused to tell them, only mentioning that he wore glasses, was a nerd, and liked to talk about paranormal stuff. One classmate wondered if there was such a person there, and another suggested he might be in the cafeteria since it was lunchtime. Meanwhile, Okarun went to Isa's classroom to look for her, but someone asked who she was and said they couldn't hear him. Okarun left the hallway, thinking Isa might be in the cafeteria. She was there too, saying Okarun wouldn't go to the cafeteria, so she would look for him at the school store. Okarun turned around and saw a girl. He thought about going to the school store but decided to check the cafeteria first. Okarun arrived at the cafeteria while Isa was at the school store. Not finding each other, Okarun thought of going to the school store and Isa thought of going to the cafeteria. They missed each other again and didn't find each other at the cafeteria and school store. Unable to find Isa, Okarun thought she might be avoiding him. He wondered if she had realized that morning how boring he was and saw him as a pest. Isa was also sad that she couldn't find Okarun, and lunch break was almost over. We see them sitting on benches on opposite sides. Okarun said it was awful, while Isa thought Okarun looked down that morning. She thought she might have been too straightforward and should have considered his feelings more. On the other hand, Okarun thought that since Isa was popular, he might just be a backup friend. Isa thought that if Okarun was hard to find, he might be avoiding her, while Okarun thought that from Isa's point of view, they weren't friends. Both were sad and stood up simultaneously. Isa felt sucky, and Okarun thought he had gotten over himself. They both blamed themselves and apologized to each other in their thoughts. They ran into each other, accidentally kissing. Both were surprised, and Okarun asked what Isa was doing there. She replied that she was wondering the same thing and that their teeth had collided. Annoyed, Okarun said he had been looking for Isa all this time, and Isa replied that she had been looking for him too and told him not to wander around. Okarun was surprised to hear this and asked if she had really been looking for him. Isa seemed irritated and said yes, but now the break was over. Okarun said he thought Isa was avoiding him, and Isa said she thought the same about him. They seemed embarrassed by what happened, and Isa thought it was awkward and needed a new topic, but at that moment, they heard a voice. It came from one of Isa's friends, who said they were kissing. Both were shocked, and one friend said Isa should have told them, while another added that this must be why Isa was acting like a spaz. Isa said she wouldn't kiss a dork like Okarun, and he replied that he wouldn't kiss a bubblehead, which Isa didn't like. She called him bald, and he said he wasn't rejecting her. Okarun replied that he wasn't bald and asked if she couldn't see that. Isa's two friends watched their argument, and Isa called Okarun Four Eyes, to which he replied that she was against everyone who wore glasses. They moved away from each other, and Isa said she didn't want to talk to Okarun and told him to stay away from her. Okarun said, "Same here," and told Isa not to try talking to him. Isa's friends gossiped, saying the two were extremely close. Okarun went to the bathroom and told himself that he got carried away earlier, but he really wanted to talk to Isa and should apologize to her. While urinating, he noticed something and said he thought it had returned to him, but his marbles were gone. We see Isa surrounded by her female classmates, and one of them asked if it was true that she kissed a boy in the courtyard. "What's he like?" said another, and she also asked what class is the boy in. Isa said that's not what happened, and she shouted, "She keeps telling them." Isa's friend recounted that he was a mega geek who wore glasses. Isa got annoyed with her and said to stop talking about what happened, but she pointed at something and said Isa's babe was there. Isa replied that she had already told them he wasn't her boyfriend. She got angry and asked Okarun what he was doing there. He answered that he needed to talk to her. The girls were surprised to see Okarun, as if they didn't expect the boy Isa kissed to look like that, and she seemed so pissed already. Okarun said that a big problem had arrived, but Isa just shooed him away, asking again what he was doing there and saying she didn't want to talk to him. Okarun argued that this wasn't the time for that. He said it was extremely important and he needed to talk to her alone. He pleaded Isa to listen to him, but she didn't seem to believe it. Isa's friend said the couple was fighting, and Isa replied that she had already said Okarun wasn't her boyfriend, so they should stop spreading weird rumors. Okarun said Isa was talking to him earlier, so why wasn't she talking to him now? Isa answered that Okarun also said he didn't want to talk to her. Okarun said that it was just verbal tit for tat, but the truth was he couldn't help wanting to talk to her.
You fucking rule!
The girls squealed, and one said Okarun was a sweet talker, while another praised his moves. Isa told them to shut up and said she didn't want to talk, so Okarun should just leave. Isa's friend said that was cold, and asked if it wasn't a bit mean. Isa replied that they were the mean ones and told them to quit stirring the pot. Okarun asked if Isa was that embarrassed to be his friend, and we see that both of them look sad. Okarun left, and Isa's friend asked her if she really needed to reject Okarun flat out like that. She added that if they were just friends, Isa would have joked with him, and she had never seen Isa like this before. The students were going home, and while walking among many students, Okarun wondered if Isa had gone home, but he suddenly bumped into someone at that moment. The person who bumped into him was a very beautiful girl, who immediately apologized and asked if he was okay. Okarun replied that it was his fault, so he's the one who's sorry. The girl said she had a water bottle in her bag and asked Okarun if it hurt him. Okarun said no, and maybe it was because he had gotten tougher. The girl touched his arm and apologized again. Okarun replied that it was his fault and to forget about it. The girl said Okarun was such a kind person, and he seemed to blush. Isa was also walking in the hallway, thinking that she was bummed out because it seemed like it was all her fault. She accepted that she was in the wrong, and then she saw something at that moment, Okarun and the girl. The two were laughing. and they were both blushing. Isa seemed annoyed, and she thought that Okarun had told her he didn't have any friends, and the girl was cute to boot. The girl passed by Isa and asked her friends if they saw that. Then, she insulted Okarun's reaction and said he probably has a huge crush on her. One of her friends said she really played with Okarun, and the girl replied that it's fun making worthless trash get the hots for her. She added that a guy like Okarun would never talk to a girl, and surely he'll never be touched by a girl as beautiful as her. We see a small basin, and the girl keeps talking, saying she'll let Okarun dream, and it's probably not a big deal. She added that Okarun probably enjoyed what happened, and a hand was shown making a gesture. In the next scene, the girl was suddenly hit on the head by the basin and fell. Her friends checked on her, and we learned that her name is Era. One of her friends asked what's the deal with the basin and if it just suddenly fell out of nowhere. Okarun saw this and was surprised by the girl's collapse. He also wondered if it was a delayed reaction from their collision earlier. Someone grabbed his arm, and when he turned to look, he realized it was Isa. She invited Okarun to walk home with her and said he looked good with his glasses, which Era heard. She added that only idiot girls couldn't see Okarun's charm. She also said that Era deserved wash basins falling for her, not boys. As they walked, Isa apologized to Okarun for her ugly behavior earlier. She said she only got angry when a kiss happened to them in the courtyard. She also apologized for being embarrassed, but said she wasn't ashamed to be Okarun's friend. Okarun said it was okay, and he wasn't bothered by what happened. He was happy they made up like that. He added that they should forget what happened, and they had a bigger problem. Isa replied that it wasn't just nothing because she was bothered by it. Okarun told her to calm down and confirmed if they had defeated Turbo Granny. Isa said of course, and they even prayed and did all sorts of things. They also freed Okarun from the curse and his eggplant returned. No, said Okarun, and Isa asked what he meant. Okarun answered that it was his balls, and Isa looked confused. We see Isa's house, and Okarun said he didn't have his balls. Isa laughed hard at what she heard, and her grandmother said that was why she told Okarun to show his thing to her. She also asked why Okarun only noticed this now, since they were his balls. Isa laughed so hard, and said her sides were hurting from laughter. Okarun got annoyed with her, and said it wasn't funny. He explained that his eggplant had returned, and he was so relieved that he didn't notice his balls. Isa's grandmother said it wasn't an eggplant, and it was more appropriate to call it a pencil. Okarun replied that she wouldn't know that, and Isa kept laughing. The grandmother said she would look, and Okarun, seemingly annoyed, asked if Isa's grandmother wanted to see his thing. The grandmother replied that she wouldn't look at Okarun's sausage, but she would look inside him, while holding a mirror. The grandmother used the mirror on Okarun and ordered Isa to get any doll and water in a wash bowl. She said there was something inside Okarun. Okarun placed his foot in the wash bowl filled with water, and Isa's grandmother said they should start. She also confirmed with Isa if she had placed the talisman on the cat doll, which was called 10 million Rio. Isa's grandmother called Okarun a little dum-dum while hitting him with a large fan, and Isa seemed to laugh. Okarun was surprised and asked the grandmother what that was about. The grandmother called him a rotten tangerine and told him not to move. Okarun said that this wasn't a TV drama. The grandmother replied, asking if the kanji for the word person wasn't a pictograph of poles supporting each other. Okarun said the grandmother was just pranking him, and Kenpachi-sensei doesn't call people rotten tangerines. The grandmother asked Isa if she saw anything, and she answered yes. She explained that when her grandmother hit Okarun, his aura briefly turned blue. Her grandmother asked for her help and instructed her to pull Okarun's aura when it turns blue. Isa asked her grandmother if it was possible to take someone's aura. Her grandmother replied that the blue aura wasn't Okarun's, and if it was foreign to him, Isa could remove it. The grandmother prepared and told Isa to focus. The grandmother hit Okarun, and Isa pulled the blue aura. Then, Isa said she felt the aura, but after she pulled it out of Okaroon, it disappeared. She added that it was bad, and it might have escaped, but her grandmother told her to relax. We see that the appearance of the talisman leaning on the cat changed. Suddenly, the cat ran away, and the three of them scrambled to catch it. Isa said it was fast and asked what it was. Isa's grandmother called it a rotten tangerine while waving her fan. Isa got an idea at that moment, and when she closed her eyes, we learned that she used her powers. She asked the cat where it was, and using her power, she found its aura. She caught it using her powers and shouted that she had caught it. She opened a door while saying she thinks the cat was inside, and when she opened it, she was surprised by what she saw. We see the cat going wild, saying to let it go, or it would kill all three of them. Okaroon arrived and said that what Isa did was awesome and her paranormal abilities must be improving. Isa replied that she didn't know. While the cat was going wild, the two wondered what it was, and Isa's grandmother said she was surprised by it. So Isa asked her what was it. The grandmother said it was Turbo Granny, and we see that the two were very surprised. Isa said they had already defeated Turbo Granny and sent her to the afterlife. Turbo Granny said that she couldn't be defeated by kids, and they should never look down on their elders. Isa called her cute, but Turbo Granny again told her to not look down on her elders. Then she explained that when she was torched by the magic barrier, she became an astral form and swam through the flames. She was desperate, so she took shelter in Okaroon's body. Because she was at death's door once when she was inside Okaroon's body, all signs of life seemed to disappear. She stayed inside while waiting for her spiritual power to recover, and when it returns, she'll kill them all. Isa challenged her, saying Turbo Granny was already defeated, so she should accept it. Turbo Granny replied that she wasn't defeated, and she couldn't be beaten by a dumbass like Isa. She added that Isa in particular would really get it. She said she's just simply recuperating now, and when her power returns, she'll beat her like a drum. Isa asked her if she knew what her situation was now, and that they had the power now, so she should think about what she's saying. Okaroon showed her a talisman and said to return his balls, and that she had nowhere to run. Turbo Granny told Okaroon not to fantasize about defeating her, because if she dies, his balls won't return. Isa and Okaroon were shocked by what Turbo Granny said, and she asked them if they finally see the bigger picture. She said she was the only one with power. She ordered Okaroon to get a carving knife and kill Isa and her grandmother, then she'd return his balls. Okaroon didn't want to do it, and Turbo Granny told him he needed to do everything she said, so he should hurry up and move. Okaroon seemed very annoyed at that moment, and Isa, her grandmother, and Turbo Granny noticed something. Okaroon transformed and said that was stressing him out, and he is so bummed. Isa was shocked and asked how he could transform when Turbo Granny wasn't inside him anymore, and even Turbo Granny was surprised. Isa's grandmother said her fan caused it, and explained that the purpose of the fan she was holding was to drive out evil spirits from the body, and perhaps her grip on Okaroon was so tight that only Turbo Granny's consciousness left. In other words, Turbo Granny's spiritual powers were still inside Okaroon, and only her consciousness possessed the doll. She said that only she could return Turbo Granny's consciousness to normal. She added that she believed Turbo Granny called Kenpachi a moron, and she called her a little dum-dum cat turd rotten tangerine. Isa's grandmother started hitting Turbo Granny, who apologized and called the grandmother sensei. Isa's grandmother said she wasn't her sensei, and Okaroon said that's how you do it, Seiko-chan, referring to the grandma. After that, Okaroon returned to normal, and Isa asked him how he did it. Okaroon answered that he didn't know. He just got so angry and thought he wouldn't let Turbo Granny get away with it, then he just transformed. Seiko continued hitting Turbo Granny, but Isa stopped her. She said Turbo Granny was underhanded, but to be blunt, she couldn't hate her too much. Isa said Turbo Granny felt sympathy for the girls who became bound spirits, and she felt the same. She added that they should be nice to each other now, and if Turbo Granny returned Okaroon's balls, they would return her power. Turbo Granny was forced to agree, and Isa said to return the balls now, but Turbo Granny said she didn't have them. Isa got angry and said Turbo Granny promised, so she should fulfill it, but Turbo Granny said she wasn't lying. She added that she kinda lost them. Turbo Granny said that she enveloped each of his marbles in a spirit energy membrane that looked like shiny gold balls about 5 centimeters across. She said that if they saw them, they would surely recognize them immediately. Therefore, Okaroon and Isa quickly went out to search for them, but seemed to have difficulty. Okaroon couldn't find them, while Isa said they wouldn't be able to locate such tiny objects. As Turbo Granny lay in her cat form on the chair, she stated that if they had thoroughly searched and still couldn't find them, it meant someone had already taken them. She explained that there was a powerful life source residing inside these gold balls, and spirits and yokai were drawn to such energy. They believed that if they collected powerful life force, they could be revived. That's why evil spirits attack people, to steal their life force. Isa was troubled and said it was bad news. If someone had taken his marbles, there was no hope of finding them. Turbo Granny then asked why they were telling her this. The two kicked her and blamed her for losing them, saying she should help them search, while Turbo Granny told them to stop, saying it hurt. Isa suggested they should just go back to think of another strategy, and Okaroon agreed. Turbo Granny was annoyed and vowed not to forget how they treated her. That evening, they returned to Isa's house. When her grandmother asked if they had found anything, Isa replied they hadn't. She went inside, saying if they had no clues, what else could they do? She said she would ask her associates if they had any new information about the marbles. She looked at Okaroon and reminded him that Turbo Granny's power was still inside him. Even if it didn't go haywire now, it didn't mean the situation wasn't dangerous anymore. Turbo Granny listened from the side as the grandmother told Okaroon to stay away from trouble until they had more information. Okaroon nodded in agreement. The next day at school, as Okaroon entered their classroom, someone suddenly put an arm around his shoulders. This student spoke to him and asked if there was anything going on between him and Isa. Okaroon denied it, and the boy confirmed again if there really was nothing. Then he said that if that was the case, Okaroon should introduce him to Isa. Okaroon was surprised when the boy said Isa was super cute. The student expressed his desire to get to know her better. This comment made Okaroon ponder the idea of Isa being cute. He had never considered it before, as he was simply happy to have a friend for once. But upon reflection, he thought that perhaps she was indeed cute. He suddenly slapped himself, thinking that she was just a friend and that he shouldn't think of her as cute because it was impure. The student abruptly asked if they have done it, which greatly shocked Okaroon. The boy added that there were rumors about Isa that she'll spread them for anyone. And so Okaroon demanded to know who was saying such things. The boy replied that he didn't know, but asked if it wasn't true. Okaroon grabbed him and again asked who was spreading these rumors. Irritated, the boy questioned Okaroon's actions and challenged him. In his anger, Turbo Granny's power suddenly emerged, and Okaroon asked once more who was spreading these rumors, stating that Momo wasn't that kind of girl. The boy was terrified by Okaroon's intense stare. Okaroon warned him not to spread such lies, so the boy nervously denied being the source of the rumors and pleaded to be released, saying he understood. Okaroon let go, while the boy's companion asked if he was all right. Okaroon apologized and walked away, leaving the three bewildered by his behavior. Back at his desk, Okaroon covered his face with a magazine to calm himself. Surprisingly, Turbo Granny suddenly slid out of nowhere, noticing Okaroon's struggle. Caught off guard, Okaroon quickly stuffed her into his bag and ran out of the classroom. After catching his breath, Turbo Granny commented that it had been hundreds of years since she'd been to a school and how nice and clean it was. While observing, Okaroon asked what she was doing there, wondering if she wasn't supposed to be hidden at Isa's house. Turbo Granny explained that Seiko, Isa's grandmother, had allowed her to roam freely since she couldn't do much harm. Moreover, they had a bigger problem, which is her power inside Okaroon. She said it was too heavy for him to bear. As a result, Turbo Granny urged Okaroon to let her enter him again. She assured him not to worry, as once she regained her power, she would leave. She tried to convince Okaroon, but he replied that she should return her marbles first, and he wouldn't fall for her smooth talk. Suddenly, Ayase arrived and greeted Okaroon, while Turbo Granny quickly dove back into the bag. Okaroon was about to tell Ayase about Turbo Granny, but she hushed him. Okaroon then became distracted upon seeing Ayase up close. He thought to himself how incredibly cute she was and even blushed. He averted his gaze and moved away from her. Ayase asked why he was distancing himself, but Okaroon just scratched his head, unable to answer properly. He tried to escape, but Ayase chased after him, telling him to look at her when she's talking to him. Okaroon was still thinking of an excuse while Ayase demanded he stop, asking why he was running. The two ended up chasing each other on the hallway, with Ayase even threatening to kill him. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny decided to tour the school to experience campus life that she had long missed. The bell rang, so they returned to class. Ayase's friend asked if there was a problem between her and her man. Ayase replied that he was avoiding her, which irritated her. She also clarified that he wasn't her man. Her friend mentioned that he seemed to be a good guy, which surprised Ayase. When asked where that came from, she said she heard it from someone in Class C. The boy from Class C had badmouthed her apparently, and her man, Okaroon, had confronted him. Ayase was shocked and asked if it was true. Her friend added that there seemed to be a rumor spreading about her, which had apparently angered Okaroon. Ayase then was curious why he's avoiding her. Outside the classroom, students were admiring a schoolgirl who seemed to be everyone's crush. This was Ira, who walked by, admiring herself. She thought she couldn't walk down the hall without people staring at her. But she said she wasn't just a pretty face. She smiled and waved at the blockheads to make them think a beautiful girl like them, which helps them keep going. In her mind, she was the perfect combination of beauty and kindness. However, even though she thought herself perfect, she sometimes got angry. She recalled an incident when a wash basin had fallen on her head. To get revenge on the girl responsible, she spread a rumor that the girl was a slut. But surprisingly, the rumor didn't spread much, which angered her more. She believed no one else knew that the woman she called bitch was actually a devil. But she could clearly see with her own two-eye the devil wings when that girl had put her arm around Okaroon. So, she had no doubt that the girl, Momo Ayase, was certainly a devil. Ira thought that the fact she could suddenly see this meant she had been chosen, and she understood why, because she was so beautiful. As proof, she took out an object from her pocket that she claimed came from the sky. It shone when she took it out, and it turned out to be a golden ball. Ira thought it was a message telling her to save the world from a wicked fiend. She understood this and was determined to do it because she was a beautiful girl. Flashback to Ira walking outside. Something hit her head from above, which annoyed her as it hurt. When she looked, it appeared to be a marble. Despite her irritation, she picked it up. However, a train suddenly passed by, startling her and causing her to drop it. After the train passed, she curiously looked at the marble again. She picked it up once more and decided to keep it in her pocket. Back to the present, Ira's friends called her, saying they had brought the items she requested. They clarified that they had only borrowed these items, so they needed to be careful with them. Ira replied that they were now equipped. She found the smell of the cross strange and asked if it was real. Her friend wasn't sure and asked if they were really going to do this. Ira confirmed, saying she was chosen and, due to her beauty, was tasked with saving the world. Her friend said she believes her because they were friends, but honestly, Ira had been acting weird lately. What she was planning now wasn't normal. While looking out the window, Ira noticed something in the field and pointed it out, asking what it was, but there was nothing visible there. Her friends peeked to see what she was pointing at, a woman in a red one-piece. They were confused because they couldn't see anything. Ira thought it might be a familiar or minion of Ayase, whom she considered a devil and believed it was spying on them. She quickly ducked on the floor and told her friends to do the same before the familiar spotted them. Some students then noticed this and asked what she was doing. Ira suddenly stood up and said that because it was so hot, she thought of pressing her body against the wall to cool down. Laughing, the students called her a ditz or silly. Ira playfully hit them, denying it, although she admitted many people had said that to her before. She looked at her friends and signaled that they would do it after school, but they shouldn't tell anyone else. On the rooftop, Isa called for Okarun's attention, who still wouldn't look at her. She tried to make him look at her, but Okarun was still blushing and replied that he was just watching Turbo Granny in case she tried to escape. While eating in her cat form, Turbo Granny responded that he couldn't stop her even if he tried. Isa then wondered why Turbo Granny had come to their school. Turbo Granny glared at her, asking if she needed her permission. Isa retorted that they had defeated her. Turbo Granny challenged her to a fight, saying she'd make it difficult, but Okarun intervened. While the two were arguing, Okarun mentioned about Turbo Granny noticing a strange woman. She'd confirmed this, saying she hadn't just come for a casual visit, but was looking for Okarun's marbles. Isa angrily called her a dummy, questioning how his marbles could have ended up at school. This triggered Turbo Granny again, and she would have fought back if Okarun wasn't holding her. He suggested they could search there too, adding that he hadn't considered that a human, not a spirit, might have picked up the marbles. Turbo Granny clarified that the marbles looked like pretty golden balls, so it wasn't impossible for someone to have picked them up on the street. However, if a human had them, it might awaken their spiritual powers, allowing them to see spirits. And if they could see spirits, the spirits could see them back and potentially attack them. Isa was shocked and stood up, saying Turbo Granny should have told them earlier. She asked who was the eerie woman Turbo Granny had mentioned. While eating, Turbo Granny said she didn't know her name but would show them after school. In class, Ira was in serious mode. While solving a math problem, she was thinking about how strong Momo Isa might be. She wondered if she could defeat her using just a cross and a holy book, and she was concerned about Isa's familiar. When class ended, Ira peeked at the grounds again. She contemplated whether she could fight both of them simultaneously. She seemed nervous while holding the golden ball. She noticed the woman in the red one-piece approaching her. As students were leaving the classroom, Isa told Okarun they should start looking for the marbles. She was then curious about Turbo Granny's whereabouts, and Okarun replied she was in his backpack. As Isa was about to open Okarun's bag to check, Ira suddenly called out to her, saying she wanted to talk to her alone. Isa asked what they needed to discuss, as she was busy. Ira bowed and pleaded that it wouldn't take long. And so, Isa, remembering Ira as the girl hit by the wash basin, was curious if she had noticed anything unusual. Not wanting to cause issues, she agreed to go with her. She told Okarun to go ahead and that she'd find him later. He nodded in agreement. With so many people at school, Okarun wondered if he could find the golden balls alone. Suddenly, Turbo Granny peeked out of his backpack, pointing out the person she had mentioned earlier, surprising Okarun. Ira led Isa to what seemed like a warehouse. When Isa asked why they were in such a place, Ira peeked around, signaling her two friends to emerge and grab Isa, who was confused by the situation. They forced her to the ground and tied her hands with zip ties. Ira approached, then sat on her. While holding a holy book, she pressed the cross at Isa's face, telling the demon to die. Isa then asked what it was, complaining about the smell. Ira commanded her to return to where she came from. She then told her friends to hold Isa's feet to stop her from moving. Because of this, Isa was extremely irritated. Ira claimed to see demon wings on her, and because the cross didn't work, she took out what she considered a gift from heaven, the golden ball. Isa was shocked to see Okarun's marble in Ira's possession. The two friends stumbled back while Ira wondered how Isa knew about the golden ball. Nevertheless, she said Isa couldn't have it because she received it to save the world, calling it a holy ball. Isa corrected her, saying it was Okarune's marble and demanded its return. Aira, angered that Isa had defiled the holy object, called her vulgar and started hitting her.
And so Isa called Aira stupid for worshipping someone else's nutsack.
Suddenly, Okarune arrived running, relieved to have found Isa. Isa shouted that the girl had his marble and was the eerie woman. Aira wondered if Okarune was Isa's cohort. As Okarune approached, he said he wasn't her but was the eerie woman's target. Aira suddenly vanished from behind Isa, and the body of an enormous creature appeared, saying she finally had Aira. She resembled a ballerina, standing on tiptoes while carrying Aira. The creature said she had been waiting a long time for her to see her. A flashback appears of when the young Aira was shown pulling a woman and calling her mommy in the past. In the present, the eerie woman claimed to be Aira's mother, while Aira recognized her as the familiar she had seen earlier in the field. Isa became worried as the creature held and lifted Aira, so she instructed Okarune to take action. Okarune removed his shoes and suddenly started running. His body gradually transformed, revealing Turbo Granny's power. He dashed to retrieve Aira from the creature's grasp. However, when the creature noticed him, she managed to dodge, and so Okarune failed to rescue her. Okarune observed the creature carefully, while the eerie woman was surprised by him. She asked if he had a crush on her child, Aira. Annoyed, Okarune wanted to go home. Meanwhile, he swiftly ran and jumped again to grab her, but the creature said it wasn't allowed. Suddenly, she swallowed him whole, causing Isa to scream. She asked her not to eat him. Because of this,
She used her giant hand ability and held the creature's mouth to stop it.
but Isa was extremely irritated because with her hands tied, she couldn't fully control her ability. As a result, the creature managed to kick her forcefully, sending her flying to the side. And then, she swallowed Okarune and rejoiced that she had finally met Aira. The creature said she had been waiting for over 10 years for her to see her. Surprised, Aira asked if she was Momo Isa familiar. She denied this and said she was her mother. She wondered whether she knew how much she loves her. The creature then recalled when Aira pulled her as a child and called her Mommy. She said that was the first time she had been so happy. While crying, she wished for Aira to call her Mommy again. Suddenly, from the side, Isa called her an old bag and demanded the return of Okarune. Despite her tied hands, she forced herself to stand, saying it was against the rules to attack the living. The weird creature replied that they were just enjoying an emotional reunion. Aira then asked Isa what the creature was and if this was the kind of demon she fought against. She inquired if Isa wanted to cooperate to defeat it, which confused Isa about what she was saying. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny emerged and commented that at this rate, they would end up as side dishes for that eerie woman. While holding a cell phone, she said it was an acrobatic Silky. Isa then wondered why she had her friend Miko's phone,
asking if she had stolen it to search the net.
The description matched, wearing a red one-piece, with silky hair and moving acrobatically. Isa was curious about how, as a yokai, Turbo Granny didn't know this, to which she replied that she didn't pay attention to low-ranking rookies. Meanwhile, still held by the acrobatic Silky, Aira declared that she was the chosen one due to her beauty, and she would defeat monsters like her. The acrobatic Silky was not happy with what she had said. Aira repeated that she would defeat monsters like it to bring peace to the world. As a result, she swallowed her too. Isa hadn't expected this and again tried to stop it, asking why she was eating everyone. Crying, the acrobatic Silky blamed Isa, saying she was the reason Aira had become a naughty girl and called her a monster, which she hadn't done before. Her hair suddenly lengthened while Isa called for Turbo Granny's help to remove the zip tie from her hands. However, she couldn't do it. Frustrated, Isa begged her to cooperate because the creature had eaten Okarune and she couldn't face it alone. Turbo Granny replied that she had stolen his power, so what did she expect? Isa was about to respond when the acrobatic Silky strangled her with its hair and pulled. She forced her to apologize, saying she was to blame for everything, but Isa only said, "Moron." This angered her further, and she suddenly started spinning her hair. She said her acrobatics whip up a gale, ensnaring everything and slinging it around. As a result, pipes, metal, and various objects were seen tied to the creature's hair, and she called Isa a hopeless girl. She said that usually only Ira gets to say it, but since Isa seemed to want to speak, she would allow her. She told her to just call her Mommy, and she would forgive her. She tried to force her to say it and even spelled out the word Mommy for Isa, but she refused to say that word. And when the acrobatic Silky was extremely irritated, Isa opened her mouth and said, "Moron." In her fury, she swallowed and gulped her down too. And so she suddenly cried and searched for her child. On the ground, Turbo Granny became concerned that Isa had also been eaten. She called the acrobatic Silky a subordinate and ordered her to return the swallowed students, saying she might still forgive her if she does. But the strange creature asked who she was and said she didn't want to talk to her. Turbo Granny was irritated, insisting she should speak to her with respect because she was older. Because of this, the acrobatic Silky became angry, saying she sounded like she had a death wish. Turbo Granny then replied that there's a saying that the Maneki Nico, or her current form, has the power to invite good luck. She mentioned that she had eaten her hair along with Momo. Suddenly, the acrobatic Silky's mouth and hair burst into flames. She wondered what was happening since her hair was burning and her insides were on fire. She asked what Turbo Granny had done. She answered that the woman earlier had a cross, referring to Ira. But she revealed it was actually a lighter, and either Momo or that student had used it to set her hair on fire inside her body. It just happened that someone had a fake cross and she managed to swallow her hair, so it was a coincidence. But Turbo Granny said since she was there,
That chance was inevitable.
because of this, the acrobatic Silky vomited Isa and the others out. Okaroon complained about Isa's recklessness, while she retorted that he was eaten first. Now that their rescue was successful, she said their next step would be a counterattack. The acrobatic Silky went berserk, claiming they had stolen Ira from her, which made her furious. Isa and the others hurriedly ran as she chased them. Meanwhile, Okaroon struggled because he was carrying Ira and asked what they should do. Isa replied to just keep running because she had an idea. Okaroon wondered how, given the many obstacles around that would slow him down. The acrobatic Silky passed over them, getting ahead and telling them they couldn't escape. Surprisingly, it suddenly stomped on Isa with great force, calling her a naughty girl. Okaroon was concerned for her, but continued running while carrying Ira. And so the acrobatic Silky's next target was Okaroon, whom she called a teeny-weenied punk, to which he responded that she was being harsh. She demanded the return of Ira, but Okaroon kept dodging her attacks. The acrobatic Silky said that avoiding her acrobatics in such tricky terrain was impossible. Soon enough, she managed to kick Okaroon, causing him to struggle to breathe and drop Ira. With both on the ground, the acrobatic Silky told Ira it was okay if she didn't want to call her mommy. She would accept that as long as they were together. But once she devours her, Ira would become part of its flesh forever. So, she said she would chew her thoroughly. She tiptoed to reach Ira but was puzzled when she realized she couldn't move. Someone suddenly mentioned that her acrobatics could ensnare anything. Well, because of that, her old lady perm was now fried, and she couldn't untangle it. Her hair was visibly wrapped around the steel beams in the surroundings, preventing her from moving. Isa praised Okaroon for running around perfectly. Meanwhile, Okaroon was relieved that he could breathe properly now. However, the acrobatic Silky became annoyed and struggled. She said they wouldn't catch her that easily. Okaroon became worried, saying she looked like she might escape because she was destroying the beams. But Isa replied that wouldn't happen on her watch.
She then used her giant hand's ability to grab the acrobatic Silky's legs.
The creature became angry again, telling her to keep her hands off her beautiful legs. Nevertheless, she remained restrained. Isa then told Okarun to get serious, adding that he hadn't even used his ability yet. She urged him to take the fight seriously and beat her up. Clueless, Okarun asked how to do that, which surprised Isa. Okarun clarified that with the alien, he had freaked out and bit it. As for the bound spirit, he had only tried to escape. He admitted he hadn't actually beaten anyone up yet, but Isa told him to just kick it. Okarun asked if it was like soccer, but Isa said she didn't know. She just told him to just act quickly. Meanwhile, the acrobatic Silky struggled against Isa's giant hand, who was visibly straining. With her hands still tied, Isa felt she couldn't hold on much longer. Soon, the monster broke free and prepared to attack. And so she said she would kill them. So once again, Isa told Okarun to beat her up. With no choice left, he suddenly used Turbo Granny's power and targeted the acrobatic Silky's stomach. The impact was so strong that it destroyed the building they were in. It was evident that the creature was thoroughly beaten with just one hit from Okarun, shocking Isa. She praised Okarun, saying he wasn't so bad when he tried. However, Okarun was on the ground, feeling like he might explode. Turbo Granny suddenly commented that it was rather flimsy, considering he was using his power. He said it was actually pitiful. Given what happened, Isa wondered what they should do with the creature. She pondered if she should have her grandmother exorcise the acrobatic Silky. Turbo Granny replied that they should leave that nobody alone. After that attack using her power, she wouldn't be able to use its spiritual power for a while. She suddenly looked at Ira and asked if she had the golden ball they were looking for. Isa confirmed, saying they should retrieve it. Meanwhile, Isa wanted to remove the zip tie from her hands, so she asked Okarun if he had scissors. He replied that he didn't and apologized. Isa was annoyed, blaming Ira for her being tied up. She then wondered about Ira's relationship with the acrobatic Silky. While Turbo Granny searched Ira, she suddenly called for Momo. When asked if she had the golden ball, she showed that it was indeed there. Isa was pleased, saying how lucky Okarun was.
Now that he had gotten back one of his testicles.
Okarun was embarrassed when Isa called it that. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny said they had a bigger problem. The student, Ira, was dead. As they gazed at Ira, they couldn't believe Turbo Granny's claim that she was dead. So Isa and Okarun immediately checked her pulse and breathing. But when they did so, they were shocked to find that her heart wasn't beating and she wasn't breathing. Turbo Granny explained that when an ordinary person is eaten by a yokai, they die, so it's nothing to get worked up about. She added that in this instance, a person with paranormal abilities and another blessed with her spiritual power had survived, and that was the whole story. Isa asked Okarun if he knew how to perform CPR, to which Okarun replied that he wasn't confident in his abilities. Isa said she would try a cardiac massage, and using her powers, she might be able to massage Ira's heart directly. She attempted to do so, but Turbo Granny commented that the heart is just a lump of muscle, and massaging it wouldn't do any good. So Isa told her to be quiet, and that if she was just going to interfere, she should jump into a lake. Okarun put down his bag while Isa continued the cardiac massage, and Okarun brought his mouth close to Ira's to attempt CPR. He took a deep breath, and they synchronized their efforts with massage and CPR, while Isa called Turbo Granny a hag and told her to call an ambulance since she had Miko's phone, to which Turbo Granny simply asked what the point would be. Suddenly, Acrobat Silky spoke up and called Ira's name, causing them to turn towards her, and it appeared that this yokai's consciousness returned. Isa shouted at Acrobat Silky not to interfere, calling her a psycho, while Okarun said he'd handle it and told Isa to continue resuscitating Ira. Acrobat Silky commented that such methods wouldn't bring back her life, and there was a better way to do it. She said she would give her aura to Ira, explaining that for living things, an aura is like a battery, and without a battery, the motor, or the heart, won't function. She pointed out that she would replenish Ira's depleted aura with her own. Isa shouted, asking who would believe such nonsense, thinking that Acrobat Silky just wanted to eat Ira again. Acrobat Silky suddenly grabbed her head and forcefully opened her mouth, destroying it in the process, which startled the duo. She picked up a large steel beam and said she now could no longer eat humans, and if they still didn't believe her, they should take the steel beam she was holding and use it to smash her head. Turbo Granny commented that Acrobat Silky was telling the truth, and without an aura, Ira would remain dead. Isa stared at Acrobat Silky with a reluctant expression and suddenly said she didn't believe her at all, and if she made even one false move, they would crush her head with the steel beam. Isa asked Okaroon if he could go all out and lock onto Acrobat Silky, so Okaroon transformed into his Turbo Granny cursed form and prepared to attack. Isa also asked Acrobat Silky if she had said she could replenish the dumb skank Ira's aura using her own, and if so, how they would do it, demanding she explain how it works. Acrobat Silky stared at her for a moment, but soon explained that Isa should use her ability to link her aura to Ira's, like a communications cable, which Isa immediately began to do. She told Okaroon not to take his eyes off Acrobat Silky, who commented that it was a bummer, and soon after, Isa shouted "Here we go" and reached for Ira and Acrobat Silky's flames. As she touched them, it seemed her mind was transported into Acrobat Silky's life story, and she saw several flashes of memories. In the next scene, we went to a time just after a woman had finished selling her body to a man inside a hotel called Hotel UU, and the woman's face appeared unhappy. After receiving her payment, she left and walked towards an apartment. Before entering, she bowed her head, and upon opening the door, she was greeted by a tight embrace from a young girl. It appeared to be her daughter, who gave her a colorful smile, which she returned in kind. She knelt down and hugged her daughter, and after changing clothes, she began preparing a meal for the two of them. After that, we were shown that this woman had many jobs such as being a janitor, cashier, and she also sells her body. But after her exhausting day, she always happily bonded with her daughter at their home, and one of their bonding activities was dancing. While walking home from the hotel, she saw a beautiful dress for children, so she thought about using her money to buy it. In the next scene, she had arrived home and prepared their meal for her daughter, and while they were eating, 3 men suddenly entered their house, and 2 of them started causing trouble, with one of them beating her up. The man wearing glasses took her crying daughter, so she tried to reach for her, but the man beating her just kicked her in the face, making her left eye bleed and swell. Here, we see that she had indeed bought the dress she was looking at for her daughter on her way home. The other man, who seemed to be the boss of the 2 who thrashed her home, took the paper bag containing her money and started counting it. After the intrusion into their home, they left and took her daughter with them. The woman screamed in anger as she watched her daughter being taken from her. After the men left, she started running outside even though it was raining and her body was covered in bruises, especially her left eye, and began chasing the men's van. While running, she tripped and hit her head on the ground, and when she lifted her head, she saw a pool of blood due to the injuries she sustained from the man's beating. She could only kneel there in anger and sadness while remembering the smile that gave her the strength to live despite her situation. Next, she went to the rooftop of a building, and while standing on the edge, she recalled the bonding moments with her daughter, and she began to dance there. Her elegant movements were visible as she performed ballet, and while expressing her emotions through dance, she also remembered the times when her daughter comforted her when she was struggling. In the end, after she finished dancing, she jumped from the building with lingering elegance, saying in her mind that she was always grateful to her daughter. Next, we moved to a scene where we saw a woman wearing a red one-piece dress with silky hair standing in the midst of many people. She thought to herself that she couldn't remember what this was, but she felt as if something precious was missing from her. She pondered what could have been lost. Suddenly, a little girl approached her and tugged on her dress while calling her mommy, and this child appeared to be Ira when she was younger. The woman turned to look at young Ira, but when she did, young Ira realized that this wasn't her mommy. Ira's daddy called out to her and scolded her for suddenly leaving on her own, so she explained that she thought she had seen her mommy, to which her daddy asked why she would be there of all places. Young Ira then asked where her mommy had gone, so her daddy told her that he always says she went to a very faraway place. While we are shown a funeral scene, Ira also asked when her mommy would return, to which her daddy said that she wouldn't be coming back for a long time, so she needed to stay strong. Even though her mommy was gone, they needed to hold things together so that she would be proud when she returned to them someday. It turns out that at a young age, Ira's mommy had died, and her daddy had just convinced her that she had left. Young Ira agreed with what her daddy said and promised that she would become a person her mommy would be proud of. After that, young Ira and her daddy left, but before they did, she waved goodbye to the woman in the red one-piece dress, causing her to stare at Ira. The woman suddenly started crying, wondering where her child was, and as she said Ira's name in her mind, she realized that she remembered now, and that she was Ira's mother, while seeing her real daughter who resembled Ira. It turns out that this woman was the one whose child was taken earlier, and she transformed into Acrobatic Silky after this realization, saying that she must protect Ira so that no one could hurt her. After that, we return to the present, and Isa was crying, which prompted Okaroon to ask what was wrong and if Acrobatic Silky had done something to her. Because of this, Okaroon thought Acrobatic Silky had done something bad to Isa, so he prepared to get serious and attack, but Isa quickly shouted to wait and asked him to stop. Suddenly, the supposedly dead Ira coughed, which caught both of their attention, and they exclaimed that her life had returned, and Ira began to cry while trying to stand up. Acrobatic Silky's body began to disintegrate while standing, and she apologized to Ira. She had promised to protect her, but she ended up being the one to hurt her. She said she had just become a monster who couldn't control her own emotions, so she decided to end everything here. Isa shouted at Turbo Granny that Acrobatic Silky was starting to fall apart, asking what was happening to her. So Turbo Granny pointed out that Acrobatic Silky had already explained the reason earlier. An aura is like a battery, and without it, you die. She added that Acrobatic Silky had lingering regrets, so she wouldn't be able to achieve nirvana in this way. Isa asked what would happen next if that was the case, so Turbo Granny said that the only thing that could happen was nothingness, where Acrobatic Silky would be completely erased. She explained that it would be as if she had never lived, and she would be forgotten by both the living and the dead. It was just one worthless life anyway, so the wiping out of such an existence was hardly worth a second thought, she said, and as she spoke, Ira's concern for the situation was visible. Isa said that couldn't be possible, and it was too harsh. She asked if there was another way for a person to achieve nirvana, saying there must be one. So Turbo Granny said there wasn't, and whether or not she achieved nirvana depended on her own heart. She said no one else could help her do that. As her body continued to fade away, Acrobatic Silky remembered her cheerful child once more, and she began to cry while saying that she still wanted to buy her more beautiful clothes, that she should have played with her longer than she did, and that she should have tried harder. Her child would have had a better life if she hadn't been her mother. She said she only brought misfortune to her child, so she was sorry, and she repeatedly said the word sorry. While crying, Ira suddenly hugged her, and Ira was teary-eyed as she did this, surprising both Acrobatic Silky and Isa when they saw it, and Ira suddenly called her mom and said, "I love you." When Ira said this, Acrobatic Silky suddenly remembered the time when she and her daughter went to a field one night, and they watched countless shooting stars,
And in this instance, Acrobatic Silky felt as if she was the happiest in the whole universe.
After that, Acrobatic Silky's body completely vanished, and it seemed she had achieved nirvana because of Ira's words. Isa cried at what she had witnessed, and as Acrobatic Silky faded away, Ira said that she promised she would never forget her. In the end, Ira wished to the heavens that no one would be allowed to hurt them anymore, to let them be happy, and to let them reach a better world. And here, it was shown that Acrobatic Silky seemed to have reunited with her child on the other side.